Hi, welcome to the Native Wildman channel. Your host, Sean Catfish Wilson, and it's another Tea Time Tuesday! Yeah! I love you. And for today's tea time, I have just a simple Irish breakfast tea. I forgot to, I didn't forget. I was being lazy last night and didn't make my tea for this morning, so I had to buy some tea at Redina's. Local tastes better. They have some really awesome bread. I mention that all the time. It's awesome pastry. So if you ever come to Manhattan, definitely check out Redina's. So we'll go over my shout out board really quick. That way Cosmo can stay on screen. Gonzo's, Bluminati Ninjas, Redina's Local Tastes Better, Danny Day's Homestead, Victoria May, the Quiet Listener, Women Carry Knives, A Therapeutic Edge, Do Something Kind for Somebody, Crossover Paranormal Society, Ellen's Planet Tea, which I have a feeling they may be going out of business, unfortunately, which is sad. I don't know, so I can't confirm 100%. I hope not. But anyways, Hugamoo, 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 the Gypsy and the Vanilla Gorilla, Gal Southern Living, Catching Them Fish, Big Red EDC, Spirit Brothers UK, Big Tiny's Outdoors, Grumpy Grunt, My Bad Adventures, Yeoman's Edge, Anyfin, Galaxy Girls Coffee, The Gypsy and the Vanilla Gorilla, The Fly Smith, EDCQ, The Sunfish King, yeah, Maddisfaction. Also check out Squirrel's Magnet Fishing, SMKW, Smoky Mountain Knife Works, ODC for EDC, Off the Hook Outdoors. For custom soft plastics, look no further than Off the Hook Outdoors. If you go to his channel, he's got links to his merch, and he also has shirts and stuff. And he has links to where you can buy his baits. So if you like to use soft plastics, please check him out. He will do about any color combination for you want. As long as he has the colors, he'll do it, and he has a lot. Hog Deer 79, Hunting, Fishing, Taxidermy, Wild Japan, The Laugh Channel, Off the Hook Outdoors, I said that already, On the Wild Side, Wild Japan, Some Old Man Fishing, Lefty EDC, Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors, Chillin' Indiana Carl, Matt's Fishing Mission. Always be on mission. Zach Stuff, Knives Fast, Angling Spiders, and True Budget EDC. And then you got the Native Wildman and woo. All right. Hello, I love you. So, for today's tea time, it wouldn't be me having a tea time without me drinking some tea. Shit. Oopsie. Well, I just spilled the tea. Better throw some salt over my shoulder. And from Harney's and Sons, they have some really good, their Earl Grey is really good, and their Irish breakfast tea is really good. So if you're looking for a loose leaf tea, check out Harney's and Sons also. Definitely getting that malted flavor. Oh, I get my chair. I get my chair. I'm stealing your chair, Cosmo. I'm stealing your chair, Cosmo. I stole your chair. Yes, I did. Alright. I love you. So, today's tomatoes, potatoes, today, tea time. That was random. Today's tea time is gonna be memorable fishing stories. First fishing story, I went fishing when I was a kid. Second fishing story, I went fishing when I was a kid. Then when I was an adult. Then when I was an adult. Ta-da! What do you think about my story? Okay, nah, the first one, oh, shoot. It was a while ago. I don't know how old I was. I believe I was in middle school. So, 6, 7, or 5, 6, and 7, I think. I can't remember now. It's been too long ago anyways. There used to be this pond that was owned by these two older ladies, the Osborne ladies. I don't think they were any relation to Ozzy Osbourne though. If they were, that would be cool. But I never saw Ozzy there, so I don't think they were relation. But anyways, they owned a couple of ponds. One of them was pretty shallow. I'd see the cows swim in it, and I don't know, it was probably about this deep because it went up to about, you got the cow's back and then you got the cow's head, and it went up about halfway up the cow's body. And I think that's about here on me or something. It's been a while since I stood next to a cow. But anyways, I would always fish the big pond, normally catfishing it, which I always caught catfish out of there, but catching catfish out of a farm pond, it's memorable, but it's not one of the most memorable things you can do. So, this story, before I say it, I have a question. Have you ever done it? Now, here's the story. I was fishing this farm pond. You got one end that has a dam on it to keep the water in. And basically it was a pond a valley that they just dammed off to create a pond, and it's got some pretty deep holes in it. It's pretty deep, so kind of goes down like that, kind of like a valley or ravine, probably more of a ravine. And it's maybe, well, when they first built it, it's probably around 40 foot, I would think. Deep or so, depending on what part. They probably went to the end, so it probably wasn't quite as deep, but there's some pretty deep cuts when I'd walk through the woods. Anyways, one end was a dam and is just probably like that, I would think, or maybe went down, I don't know exactly. Which was a good place for catfish. Then they're on the other end of the pond. It's about a half-acre pond or so, I think, maybe 3/4 acre. It's a decent pond, but it's not a big one, and it's not like a mud puddle small one. But you had one end, and it had trees that were sticking up out of the water and branches and stuff. And one of my favorite lures is a jitterbug, and that's just that one with the oval shaped spoon thing on the front, and it just kind of goes through the water, like pretty slow, and you reel it in fairly slow. You don't want to reel them in fast because then they don't work as well. So I was tossing the jitterbug out. Had like some branches, and I was just trying to stay away from snags because I was young and inexperienced and didn't know how to get out of a snag at the age I was, but I was still a decent fisherman. And I'm reeling in, and I watch this splash on top of the water, feel something hit my hook. I go to set the hook, start reeling it in, and I was using a Zebco 33 Rhino, I believe, because when I was young, I used Zebco all the time, and I caught decent fish on them. But I was using a jitterbug with a Zebco, so I'm reeling in this fish. You'll see why I do that here later. And it just feels off to me. And I'm reeling it in, and I get it close to the bank, and I knew it was a bass because of the way it hit. I'm reeling it in, I'm getting it closer, and it just kind of feels like a small snapping turtle came up and grabbed it and was just holding on and kind of going like that with it. And I finally get it into the bank. It didn't really take that long. And I look at my lure, and yes, I had a bass, but not only one bass, 2 largemouth bass off of the same jitterbug. So I ask again, have you done that before? One hard bait. Alright. Well, since I did that wasn't supposed to happen, but... And as you know, a jitterbug is way different than this, but similar. Has one hook in the front, and so I don't accidentally flip you off, and one hook in the back. I had one on this hook and one on this hook. And that was the first and only time I've ever done that, and that was way before they even had cell phones or YouTube or any social media, really. Social media was hanging out with friends at the lake or at school or at the city park. That was social media back in the day. Any of the older people that been in that situation, Let me know. Was that social media back in the day? So that's my first one. I'm gonna go for. So my second most memorable fishing experience was I was fishing with my buddy Danny. We were fishing on his semi V bottom boat, and we rode around, tried to find shad. He had a circle weight for an anchor, so we dropped it, and it kept shifting on us, and we would be kept thinking that we were getting bites because the boat was drifting slowly. So my clicker was going off, and his clicker was going off, and so we would pick up our rods, wait for something. Nope, nothing. Then he decided to reel in, and when he was reeling in, he caught a 4 or 5 pound channel cat off of a piece of cut shad. And I'm like, well, I don't want to get skunked. And all I had with me was my bait casters, which are the round, the reels like this, bait casters. So I had, or for catfish rigs at that time, all I had was a couple bait casters with me. And my ultralight rig, so I could maybe catch some bait fish or just throw out a lure or two every once in a while, see if I could catch anything. And well, didn't catch anything off the lure, but after my friend Danny caught that decent channel off of reeling it in, that told me that, well, the channel cat are probably biting topwater. So I take a little piece of cut bait and tie on a hook. It was just a normal Eagle Claw, think of 1/0 J hook with a bait keeper on it, because at that time I haven't converted to the circle hooks yet. So tie that on there, and it had 6 pound. I did convert to Fireline by that time on most of my rods. Still was using braid or mono on a few of them, but I've converted to braid on all of them. But that is not part of the story. Anyways, I had a 6 pound Fireline on there, and so I rigged it up. I put a little piece of cut bait on it, toss it out, and about 5 minutes later, if that, my bobber just goes jets under, which I expected to, but not quite as fast as it did. Go to set the hook, fight the fish. It gives me 3 or 4 good runs. Last run, it wraps around the rope to the anchor on the boat. So got that, and I ended up landing that fish. Needed a little bit of help. Had my friend hold the rod and told him when to release the bail after I had a good grip on the fish so I could get it in. That one ended up being 16 pounds. And I know that's been done before. If you've caught a decent sized channel cat or decent sized any type of fish off of light line, 6 pound test, maybe lower, put it in the comments. Let me know. I would really like to know. My next most memorable one, and this has got to be memorable because, well, it's a PB. I was fishing at a Blackjack Creek in St. George, and normally that creek's pretty shallow. I think I've told this full story. So I was fishing, casted near some weeds with a bluegill about yay long, about 2.5, 3 inches, probably 3 inches. Smashed, and I end up pulling in a 56, 58 pound flathead. And of course, that's memorable because that's my PB flathead. Flatheads, if you've watched me long enough, you know that's my favorite fish. I love flathead catfish. I love the way they fight. And let me know, what is your PB fish? Mine is a 65 pound blue cat. I'm not going to go over that story because I have another memorable story from my childhood, and I'm going to take you back to that farm pond, which it's actually still there. I haven't fished it because somebody bought the property after the old ladies died, passed away, which is to be expected. So this is like a 2-in-1 cool story, man. 2-in-1. So okay, I was fishing that same farm pond. I started off at the dam. I put a piece of chicken liver on, and the way I do that is, and I was using probably a size 6 hook, I don't know, a smaller catfish hook. It worked good. And so I kind of would like stick the liver on, and I'd go and then kind of like opposite side. That's how I normally stick my liver on. It stays on pretty decent that way. So put the liver on, I cast out, and I caught probably 11 decent sized channel cat, about from here to about here on my arm, and I haven't gotten any taller since then, so the length of my arm is probably still the same. Is that right, Cosmo? I love you. So I caught all on one piece of chicken liver. I caught like 11 or so channel cat that were decent sized, and at that time I wasn't very intelligent, so they all went in my belly. Since it's private pond, it didn't really matter. I could fish with 800 poles and no one would say anything. And then, so I started at the dam. I slowly moved my way back to the underwater forest that's in there. Really, I think it's like 3 or 4 trees. And so I'm casted out in the trees. I knew by that time, I knew about where to cast to avoid the snags, but still catch fish. And it was getting near the end of the day. My grandparents' house, they lived really close, so I'd always walk to that pond when I would stay there, which was quite a bit. I like to spend a lot of time with my mom's parents, my grandparents on my mom's side. And my grandma and grandpa would show up every once in a while just to watch me fish. And they would like be sneaky about it too. They would like go and they would like open up the gate, they would park, and then they would like slowly walk down to where they could see me, because you had the pond sitting here and it kind of went this way along road, and then it went up, and then there's a four-way. So I was fishing there, and then I think my grandma showed up and said something about time to head back to the house shortly. So pack up and start to walk back. Well, she told me to walk back, but she ended up pulling up where I actually would always cut underneath the fence, because there's like a nice hole that you could curl under really easy, an animal trail. So anyways, I only had the one rod, and the chicken livers were getting bad, so I tossed them in the water. Reel up my rod and reel, and as I'm reeling it in, I feel something come and snag it. And mind you, this is off the same piece of chicken liver that I caught all the other fish on, and I'm reeling in, feel something snag it, set the hook, reel it in, and I look and I caught a largemouth bass about that long. And what happened is the channel got to it pretty good, so it had a whole bunch of ligaments just sticking out of it, and they were fluttering around like that in the water. And that's what the fish wanted, I guess, apparently. I always threw the largemouth bass back. After the first few that I ate, I didn't really like the taste of largemouth, so I always threw them back. So I ended up throwing that back. Went home, put the fish in a big 55-gallon trash container, trash barrel, let them clean out. Cleaned them the next day, and my grandma fried them up and we ate them. But what makes this one memorable is, because I'd go out there with minnows and catch big bass all the times, or catch them off of little pre-set up lures my grandpa would find at auctions and give me. One of them was just a black little thumper tail, and it would slay the fish. I don't know what brand it was, but it had like a fin. But the memorable thing about that fishing trip is that I learned that bass will even bite off of liver in the right circumstances. So, have you ever caught a bass off a chicken liver? Let me know. I would like to know. So those are my 4 most memorable fishing stories. If you've got a memorable fishing story that you want to add in the comments, be my guest. I would like to read it. I would love to read it. Until next time, peace and long life, my friends.